kick off day 4 with our first presentation. This is Elasticsearch for Koha in theory and practice, and we're going to kick it off with Nick Clemens and Fred King, and Nick is going to start us out. So thank you and take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I'm still Nick Clemens from ByWater. So yeah, last night we were talking about how many great group presentations there have been at this conference, how like they've just like everybody's had their slides together and they worked seamlessly, and none of them were just like 2 different presentations, one after another. That was great. So I really just came up here to kind of chat about Elastic. Here is my slide. I can't see my presenters notes up here, but I'm going to do my best to just talk about all of this. Really, I just kind of wanted to talk about the state of Elasticsearch in Koha, how it's going, what we're kind of working on, and then really get some questions and feedback from everybody. Largely, it's working. We have all of our new ByWater partners go live on Elastic. We don't even really talk about the option for Zebra at this point. We just launch everyone on Elastic to try and get everyone up to that standard. And people seem happy. There are bugs about Elastic. This is true. We're sort of working on it. The way I kind of looked at it at this point is we've gotten to the point where at least we understand how Elastic works. We understand how to get a MARC record into Elastic, and we understand how to like organize the fields and some of the things that libraries need to get that MARC in there. The great thing about Zebra, and Zebra was a great search engine, was that it was built specifically for MARC. You know, you took MARC data, it went in there, it expected to handle MARC records, it expected to handle XML. Elasticsearch wasn't built for MARC records and wasn't built for libraries. It's a great search engine because it is widely used and widely supported. So when we have questions about it, there are people out there who can give us answers, which is really helpful. The flip side of that is that when we say, give us answers about MARC, and they're like, what is MARC? Who is MARC? Have MARC come talk to us. So some of the things that we've done so far, you know, somebody was talking yesterday about a bug to update the mappings in community, because there's a lot of mappings out there that are missing in the default file that comes with Koha. Well, I'll admit that we've dealt with that at ByWater by having a custom set of mappings that all of our partners get. Again, out of the box without asking, we're going to put you on our default kind of set. Have we shared it back to the community yet? No. That is on our list of things to do because we're still updating it. Some of the quirks we found are subject searching. Initially, subjects were indexed, so we had the 650A index, the 650B, 650X, Y, Z. And we indexed them all into their own term. Well, then when you did a search because you wanted the entire subject heading in one term, that wasn't working because they were all split apart. So we had to go through and add mappings that kind of put them all into one field as well as doing them split out. It's a lot of changes like that, and that's kind of a lot of the stuff that we keep working on and working with libraries. So one of the big things I just want to say too is that if anyone out there is using Elastic and you're noticing these things, please report them to us so we can continue to work on that. At this point within the community, I think there's at least 5 to 10 people who will write Elastic patches, test them, and work on them. We're still waiting for large-scale adoption. One of the things about Elastic is that it's not as lightweight as Zebra. You know, it's really easy for a library to just spin up Zebra, have it running on the same server as their Koha. Elasticsearch really demands a separate server. It uses Java. It's fast and big. It's great, but it's big. So it does require a little more of that. And one of the challenges too is, you know, smaller libraries who don't have support companies, or even bigger libraries who don't have support companies, have to kind of have an additional hurdle of managing that Elastic cluster, and that can be a thing that stops them. Red's nodding at this vigorously, and I think he's probably going to talk about that a little bit.
Well, if it's not in my notes, thank you. I'm trying to remember.
See, we're working together, finishing each other's. Yeah.
Sorry, I fell asleep there. Sorry.
So as I said, there's probably about 5 to 10 people now in the community who write Elastic patches. More and more people are able to test them. Koha testing Docker, which is our development environment that is kind of standard now among Koha developers, comes with Elastic out of the box. It's running. So it's made it a lot easier for us to move those things forward with everybody. So some of the exciting things that I can tell you that are coming in the community, we're starting to get some of the new features and starting to take advantage of some of the things that Elasticsearch is going to let us do that Zebra wouldn't. One of the big ones that I'm really excited about has been in development for a little while now. They talked about it at KohaCon, is geo searching. So you can actually tag your MARC records with a location. And then when people are searching, it actually pops up a little map and it shows you books that are from an area. So you can kind of look around and get books on it, like with subjects on an area or from a certain area, depending on how you tag them. I think that's going to be one of the really cool things that we get out there. Another thing that we are working on is, or at least we've talked about a lot, the last version of Koha had some changes to the patron search, and some of the things that we were doing we have found are either a little slower or just a little harder to manage as we move to using the API. We've talked about in the past using Elasticsearch for patrons, and that conversation has revived. And I'm hoping it's something that we do get to do. Right now, our code for Elasticsearch is really based around books and biblios, but we'd like to broaden that out and start to put a few other things in there. It would really give us a more interesting way to search. We are at this point as well looking towards adding an API for searching, which really would expand a lot of possibilities for Koha. It'd make it a lot easier for outside sources to integrate with Koha because they'd be able to search your biblios and books directly via the API. Right now, there's a lot of screen scraping, and that's not the best. And it opens up possibilities for things like EDS or Aspen and kind of integrating that search directly. So we're really excited about that. I'm going to try to pull up on my notes because if I can see my presenter notes, I would. But yeah, generally that is kind of the big summary. The other big thing that needs to happen in community is that we're looking towards getting onto the most current version of Elasticsearch. Right now, a lot of libraries are running 6.3 still. That is the deprecated version. 7.0 is the kind of where we can go to next. That is supported by Koha. We need to get Elasticsearch 8 supported. And yeah, you don't need to mess with it right now. I can get him up there as soon as I can. I can.
Let me know if you want me to.
No, I mean, it's really just a. They're there. No, why are they not sure? I'm not good at using things on my phone. I'm a tech guy, I swear to God. I know how computers work. But I mean, I think I've really covered the big things that are out there. We're working on it. The exciting thing about community is that we're at the point where we can start to take advantage of things that Elastic is doing on its own and kind of broaden that support. So I think at this point, though, I'm going to let Fred talk. I'm going to take questions about Elasticsearch because the impression I got yesterday was that there were a fair amount of them. But I'd like to let Fred have his moment, get through his slides, and then we can see what questions we have for both of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to take a picture?
Good morning, everyone. I am Fred King. And I am going to tell you if I can get the slides to come on. Okay. maybe you can help later, because I'm gonna minimize this and go to the. Okay. I'm glad we have somebody that knows what he's doing. Okay, title of my presentation, Elasticsearch for koha, a view from the trenches. I have actually installed Elasticsearch on 3 different instances. As I said earlier, I have probably broken more instances of koha than most people in the room. Maybe a developer has broken more. But sort of trial and error. So I'm going to install it live in front of an audience. Could possibly go wrong. Hopefully that's in the slide. We start out. Disclaimer, as you can see, I'm not using MedStar colors. I went to lunch yesterday and well, I can't wear that shirt today. It's a very good burger, but it's messy. Trousers too. But anyway, speaking for myself on my behalf only. And okay, yesterday I showed you a picture of my van and the chicken on the doily. It's a metaphor, so I can't build a car. I don't know JavaScript. I can't do jQuery. Really terrible at SQL. Not proud of this. It is on my list of things to learn. That's a very big list, including Amharic. Because my neighborhood is it's called the 4th most diverse area in the country, and Spanish and Amharic are fighting it out for second language. But let me show you my other car. Sorry, the chicken isn't on this one. It's an electric. And it's great to park. But it's a little more complicated for me to be able to take apart and put back together. In fact, I don't. Again, here we go with Elasticsearch. Probably easier than I think. But at the moment, I'm still scared to do much tinkering like renaming indexes. And there's one thing that makes me a little nervous is on the koha community wiki under Elasticsearch. There's not a whole lot of information there. That should be updated by somebody, probably me. But there's this thing where it says cross fingers. That really does not inspire confidence. First of all, I do need to acknowledge that I have harvested, sounds so much better than stolen, most of my instructions from Vimal at Koha Geek. I've added a few things. And now, let's see if I can get this to work. Okay, this is the console of the Cheerful Valley Public Library system. Already logged in as root, so I don't have to do a whole lot. First thing you have to do is update everything. As you can see, one update can be applied immediately. I updated this last night. I hope this won't interfere with what I'm hoping to do. I've done the update live on stage, it would have added another 5-10 minutes. And we don't have enough jokes to go through 10 minutes of updating. So also, I'm used to a much bigger monitor and keyboard, and this is a wonderful computer. Used it a lot. Okay, so See, good. Okay, open install koha Elasticsearch, open JDK 11 JDK headless. Do I know what that means? Of course not. As you can see, Ubuntu knows what to do with it. And I'm going to tell it yes. And since DigitalOcean is a koha Elasticsearch mirror, it goes a lot faster. Except when you're doing it in front of a live audience. That's out of a lot of gibberish. Which I'm sure, well, Nick probably understands it.
If I had to.
Same here. I understand what I have to understand. And now you have to do wget. And I find this one really annoying because is Q uppercase O. It is case sensitive. There's not a zero in it. And dash. And of course, said yesterday, computer is logical but not reasonable. You have to have it exactly right. Wait a minute. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to work because I left out. Fortunately, I looked at my notes before I hit enter. Okay, it says apt key is deprecated. I know that. I'm not going to worry about it right now. That's a presentation for another day. It works. That's all you need to know right now. It still works. Now you have to tell koha and Ubuntu where it is. And if you set up koha by yourself, you know, it's Etsy app sources.list.d is where all sorts of interesting stuff lies. And rumor has it that it is possible to install Elasticsearch 7 on koha 2305. I was spectacularly unsuccessful doing it. And put it in dev. It's not OS. You see a typo, please.
We need dramatic music here.
I have every intention of actually doing this as a standalone video, and then I'll put in music.
Ragtime.
Yes. By the way, if you're looking for music, especially in studios, it's wonderful. You can also add this At the command line, I think this is easier because you can actually look at it. Okay. Next. Okay. Yeah. Have to get an update. And here's one little thing I left out. I did this on purpose, of course, because I really hate it when someone gives a demo and everything goes perfectly. Never had that problem in my life. I understand. Really frustrating when you get home, you try it yourself. That's right. Update again. That's not good.
I don't think the chicken is doing its part.
I don't think so.
More like that was to be laughing.
Yes.
You can't just put music over it.
It's more. Probably not gonna work. You mean just not have a release file?
You're getting a 404 not found.
Yes. Well, there goes my demo. It worked last week.
Is the address there correct?
It's on the last job. I'm not seeing this.
I think you need to get rid of that list there. I think it should just be elastics-6.x/apt. Which stable main.
Dot list.
I don't know, I'm looking at their site.
Dot list.
Stable, what you haven't released, try main. You could try main instead of release.
Okay,
Stable. Yeah, stable main. You have stable release.
I did. Well, I really screwed up, didn't I?
Oh, no, you've got stable main.
Stable
You've
main?
got it. Try it without the list.
That's not gonna work.
Oh, okay, it's not gonna work.
Trust me.
Okay.
He knows what isn't going to work.
Yeah.
See, this says save it to, that's the 6.x, that list is the file, but then it says just to have it.
No, you got dot list.
That's the file. Save the definition to sources, elastic6 that list, and then.
You're right. You're right. Screwed up yet again.
I told you we were gonna work smoothly as a team.
And we are, sort of, except for me.
This is the beauty of collaboration.
Yes, and okay, what's going?
I think you're in the saving, so you have to cancel.
Oh, you're right.
Control C, or something. I don't know. I don't even use.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably use VI.
I do.
Yeah, it's what all the cool kids could use.
Do you need to put main back in there?
I do, thank you.
We have your back.
Can I just go roll under the table and pretend I never did this?
You were just testing to see if he was watching.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know any of this, so I'm just guessing.
All right, see if this works. Of course it works.
It takes a village.
Yes. And you may have noticed the shirt I'm wearing today. If you can't read it online, introverts unite. We're here, we're uncomfortable, we want to go home. I really shouldn't have said what can possibly go wrong, and at this point. I'm going to give up. With profound apologies to everyone.
If I can just cut in for a minute, Fred, while you get back into your presentation and say, just want to highlight here that a lot of what we've been working on the community as well as getting Koha itself Dockerized, meaning that we will provide Docker images, which make it a lot easier. You don't have to go into these files and do this. You can just go and download a Docker and run it, and it will spin up Elastic. It will spin up all the things that you need for a Koha and makes your life easy. If you're a system administrator, I'm looking for the system administrators out there. Woo! Big thanks to Tomas, our amazing release manager, and Robin Sheik, who helped him do the work at Koha.
Okay, troubleshooting. Well.
Let's spread.
The next day.
There is troubleshooting Elasticsearch in the wiki. What you did not see, what you would have seen if I weren't doing it in front of a crowd. Realize if I go back to my room and try this, you know what's going to happen.
It's gonna work.
Yes, I can't get it back into presentation mode. Anyway, it should say status green. Sometimes it says status yellow, which means it works, but not really the way it's supposed to, because it's talking about shards. I don't understand that. It says red. If status red, you need to go back and try it. The end of what I know. When I go home.
So I was able to find my notes, and there were a few more things I wanted to highlight. Exciting features.
I'm gonna go sit in the corner.
Okay. You're gonna have to come back with questions, but Fred, don't worry.
Okay.
So browsing, there is now an OPAC browse. I don't know if anyone is using that, but it's very exciting to me. It's one of my favorite features of Elastic. Like the other one that I really love, and I think I know of one library who's enabled it, which is that you can, with Elasticsearch, search your marked fields directly. You can actually look for records by the marked fields, sort of like doing a report, but getting search results. And one of the other big things that we're working on is right now the mappings are managed a lot like your XSL files are managed, where you tell Koha to use those and it can import new mappings. If you're a ByWater partner, you'll know we've told you, please don't edit your mappings directly because that can break the system. If you make changes that Elasticsearch doesn't know how to handle without a reindex, everything will go down. So we have that management outside. We're looking to get it fully inside of Koha. And that's going to require a little bit of magic to make it that the updates don't happen necessarily right away, that you can make your changes and then apply them at reindexing. So those are the big exciting things that we got that I want to mention. Now we've got plenty of time for questions. Yes.
Well,
I'm coming back.
I got it.
What can Elasticsearch do for me then? Like, we talked a lot about it, but I have not really got any sense of why is it better than this?
You know, I have a similar question. That what I was gonna ask is, I think it was at the Monterey conference that you were talking about introducing Elasticsearch and how powerful it was compared to Zebra. And the analogy you used was, you may not remember this, but I remember it's a good analogy. You said Elasticsearch is a tank, and what Koha is going to use with it is like a cup holder. You said there's a lot to Elasticsearch that, you know, Koha isn't going to need, isn't used. So I wanted to ask, you know, are we using as much of Elasticsearch as you thought? How does your experience after implementing it compare to that analogy about 5 years ago?
All right, so let me start with George and then I'll go to MedStar. So I think what I was trying to say at the beginning of this presentation, sorry, let me slow that down. When I started, I was saying that we're at the point now where we can start to add in more of those features of Elasticsearch. We've got the cup holder working. You can take your cup or your data, put it into Elasticsearch and search it. Excellent. Now is when we can start to look at those other features that it has, the things like the geo searching that I mentioned, using date ranges, search, indexing more things into it. You're asking what it can do for you. What it can do is eventually get us away from some of the places where we're using SQL for searching and put things into Elastic. Why do we want to do that? SQL searching is great. Like, I don't have a problem with that, but it's very specific. You know, you're searching for strings, you're doing very straightforward things. It's not kind of as flexible. And that's what Elasticsearch is going to give us. Patron search right now, it is in the back end, it's a SQL report. Like, whatever you're doing, essentially, you're running a SQL report and displaying those results. If we were to move the patrons into Elasticsearch, that's going to give you more ability to combine those different fields and do searching different ways and kind of see what features are there. Again, is it better than Zebra? Zebra was built for libraries. Zebra was built for searching mark. Elasticsearch can take things that aren't marked. That's an advantage for us because we can start to throw whatever data we want in there. Elasticsearch can, you know, somebody mentioned at some point that Koha had a limit for the size of records that you could index. That was true in the past, not true with Elastic. We can index a much bigger document. Still have work on displaying some of those large documents, but we can at least index them. And then the other thing I said is there's just kind of a larger support community out there. You know, when libraries have come to us and said, can we expand this in Zebra? Can we add this feature? Can we change this? How do we do this? Why does it work this way? Those questions are a lot harder for us to answer than with Elasticsearch. Whereas when, you know, we want to add a new feature to Elasticsearch, we understand how to do that. Doesn't mean we're going to get it done right away, but we at least understand how to do that. And we have a broad community of support. Does that cover everything?
If I were to go back to my boss. Yeah, and say we need to switch to Elasticsearch. What's your elevator pitch as to why he needs to do that? Keeping in mind that I think he can maybe dial.
If you have things that you want to customize about your Koha search, or you have questions about why it works the way it does, if you're using Elasticsearch, I can find an answer to those questions. If you're using Zebra, I'm going to tell you that I don't know.
Also, you can, well, if you're not working with ByWater, and you can change what fields are indexed. For example, if you want to add a 790 field and index it, you can. You probably wouldn't want to do that. I did. I was going to say, it does require a little more power. The Cheerful Valley Public Library was getting by with 2 gigabytes of RAM. I think it's something like 1,500 books. That's my own personal collection. That's probably going to go up to 5,000. I had to change to 4 gigabytes RAM, but I am running it on the same server. So if you have a powerful server, you can probably get away with it.
I feel like when we moved over to Elasticsearch, the performance was better too on this. Yeah, I felt like it sped it up quite a bit. So
There's a question over here.
performance, number one.
Well, and being able to index custom fields, actually, that's something I can pitch.
Yeah.
Text editor.
There was a question over here, and there's one in the back under in just a second. One of the things that I can remember, and it probably doesn't apply to Fargo, but I know that the libraries in France were excited about Elasticsearch because it did a much better job than Zebra with multiple languages catalog at the same time. They have things in Sanskrit and other non-Roman languages that probably isn't going to apply. But I think Sarah had a question, and Christopher, somebody in the back, yeah, next to Madge had a question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that using Zebra, there was ICU support, which is the international, I don't actually know what ICU stands for. I realize I've never had to explain it out loud, but ICU is what you use for indexing characters that are non-Roman essentially. And with Zebra, it can get real messy. And when you try to search those, it parses them in ways that I don't understand, but Elasticsearch, there's an ICU plugin, you enable that, and just poof, it works.
This is Sarah. The question that I had, just a clarification, did you say that searching mark was coming, or was it something that you?
It is available now. It does require a re-index of your catalog depending upon your settings, because you have to index the mark record as an XML array, but then you can actually directly search the mark fields. We have a plugin to allow your patrons to search mark fields on the OPAC if that's something that anyone is interested in.
How is that different from the current indexing that we have?
In terms of Elastic, you mean?
Yeah.
Right now, what we do is the full record is stored in the Elasticsearch database. If in a general standard koha install, that is stored as compiled mark. So the actual string of compiled mark with all the telling it where the different fields start and all of that, that's compiled. When you want to add the ability to search mark directly, what we actually do is we re-index and we put the record in there. Essentially is mark XML, but it's kind of an interpreted XML. So it's really an array with each mark field listed and then each subfield listed. So you can say, give me a record where the 590A contains this local note that we're using for things, and just pull up those records.
Oh, okay.
Oh, another thing I ran across is that Elasticsearch will let you weight fields if you're doing a simple keyword search. So if you want to emphasize author over title, it can do that.
I think that was something you can take home to your office. And then can you show us an OPAC browse and how it works? We're talking a little bit more about why you said one person was using it. Oh.
Were you shaking your head at me, Valerie? Like I shouldn't shout? Oh, okay. I didn't really know. What do I not know? I can see if it's available on our model site. And I don't know if it is enabled there. Is it okay if I?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't know whose thing I'm on.
Yeah, that's my DigitalOcean account.
And it doesn't look like they have the browse enabled here. Let me try one more place. And no, browse is not enabled here. I will find one and show you at some point.
Hi, Laura here. Yesterday when we were at the site or cataloging group or whatever, you mentioned that there was an issue with series. I think we had a problem at one point with contents nodes and the whole series. So when I'm trying to put a whole subject, what, as a person who's both cataloging and searching and trying to find things, is there someplace that I need to look at that says this doesn't really work at this point? And maybe that is different if we redo it in Mark. Is that there are certain fields that are not really responding the way we think they are, even though the data is in the record.
So the places where you always look for koha when you have issues with the way it's working, which is Bugzilla. The thing I mentioned with series was just that we have never in Elasticsearch or Zebra indexed that the volume field or the number field,
Okay.
the subfield fee, whatever we call it. The numeration, I think.
Right.
Anyway, we've never indexed that. We could index that, and so that the idea would be that when you click on a series, we would sort it by that instead of now, which is just sorting it by relevance, which doesn't help. But that's what we've always done. So it's not really something that's broke. I mean, it's broken, but it's always been broken.
No, it's dormant.
Dormant.
Yes.
Or it's new. It's a new bug.
And it's fairly easy to add in Elasticsearch unless you're in front of a room full of people. By the way, when you do the video for the day, can you cut out the part where I made a complete idiot of myself? Just put up a sign saying it didn't work and we'll skip on it. And now I'm even more determined to make a video of one that works.
This is Jennifer Lowe. I did have a specific Elasticsearch question, but I also thought I mentioned that the help you want us have browser enabled.
Oh, okay.
So
Is it
catalog.live.
no K in catalog? No. Ooh, browser search. And so you have exceptions, and you have options here, exact, fuzzy, really fuzzy. Fuzzy, I think, is just one character off, really fuzzy is 2 to 3 characters off. I think they won't know of any. Here we go. Let's try that. So there you go, let's go to Isaac Asimov. And there you go, it's pulling down a list of those titles. And they're all in alphabetical order, and I think we can collapse them back up, check a different author. Do that, and then that should take us through.
Nice.
And you had a question as well.
My specific Elasticsearch question is about the preference. That is enable or disable Elasticsearch cross fields. And it's a 2-part question. The first part is like under what circumstances would I want to enable that? And the second part is if I disable it, what is Elasticsearch using? Is it a different multi-match query? Like is it best fields or is it something else?
So the reason to disable cross fields is if you're using an earlier version of Elastic, I think it's 6 and stuff that doesn't, or maybe it was 5, that doesn't support cross fields. So that's the reason we had an off switch, because at certain points turning it on would break your Elastic because it would say, I don't know what a cross field is. What cross fields does, I'm going to try to explain it. Essentially, without it enabled when you're searching for terms, even in a keyword search, it wants all of those terms to be in the same field. So if you searched for Asimov robots, I'm looking for one of the robots, or iRobot, there you go, Asimov robot. It would search the author field, but it would want both terms to be an author. It would want both terms to be in title. So that search would fail because it's limiting you to matching in a single field. When you say cross fields, then it says, okay, I found Asimov here in author, and I found robot down here in title, that's a good match. So essentially when like somehow it changed an Elastic and it kind of broke our expectations and then enabled to just fix them. And I will give you extra information that you didn't ask for, which is for anyone out there using it. We're using the now I lost it. The query. I have to look it up, but like we're using a specific search query, and I was going to say it as soon as I tried to get the words out of my mouth, I lost the words that I wanted.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, query string query. That is what we use. We use query string query. So if you're looking at Elastic documentation and you want to understand what we're using, that's what we are limited to right now. One of the things we are working on in the community, which was in my notes to say earlier, was we're looking at actually building our search, our query builder modules to use a much more Elastic-centered process. When we first implemented Elastic, we really just wanted to kind of match Zebra and give you the same experience. And now we're getting past the cup holder and we can get to that point of saying, Elasticsearch lets you use these different types of search. Let's actually use those.
Bucket seats.
Yeah.
So earlier you talked about her ordinance that Elastic is better than Zebra. I imagine there are limits there. I'm wondering about some of the things that we're facing with regard to performance. Some of our larger item records. I was just looking at our system settings for Elasticsearch, and I noticed that we're indexing like everything. And I'm wondering if that's bad.
No, so the performance issues that you're seeing with large records are largely internal koha issues. A lot of it is just that we do everything before we load the page right now. We gather all the data. And when we do a search, when we're pulling up a record that has 2,000 items, we're getting each item out of the database. We're taking each field in that item and translating it from the internal codes to the human codes. And we're doing all of this before we show you the record. So you may not even be looking for item number 995, but we're not going to show you anything until you load it. What we're moving towards is a processing koha of let's load the record and then use the API to bring in all this stuff after we show you something. Big data is big data. It's always going to take a long time to load. But in terms of Elasticsearch, we are really tiny. Like even when we index a large library with 1 million records, compared to what a lot of other users of Elasticsearch are doing, they're indexing their log files, which are 20 million lines a day. And they're throwing those into Elastic. So the size of their database is like the hundreds of gigs to terabytes. Most koha databases are maybe 5 to 10 gigabytes. So we're still on the small end of that.
One slide that I didn't include, which I probably should have, the Internet Archive uses Elasticsearch. And the last few times I've tried to look up something, I got error message says index isn't working. So other places have problems too.
So there is an online comment, Kendall asks, how do we enable browse search?
It is a system preference. You'll want to make sure that you have up-to-date mappings, just so that everything is getting indexed for the browser correctly. So if it's an older installation, I would suggest updating to the latest koha mappings or the latest ByWater mappings, depending on your support situation. And then there is a system preference switch. I don't know what it's called off the top of my head. I think it's something like opaque browse search.
Is that something that can just be turned on, or do we need to go through our support vendor to coordinate that?
Again, it depends on the mappings and what's indexed. If you just go ahead and turn it on and it works, you are all set. If you turn it on and it doesn't work, then you should look at re-indexing.
And just quick to clarify, because I think I was along the same lines with my question. We back when we started with koha, we were on Zebra and we had issues with certain records that had too much information, too many items, and we ended up having to divide it into 2 records. Is that a elastic, or is that a search engine or database issue, or is that a koha issue?
Yes.
Okay.
So Zebra had a limit on the size of the records. That limit could be raised. It was a little harder to do, and it took us a while to actually get that working, but we did overcome that. Zebra initially had a limit of like, I think, 1 megabyte. Any record that was over 1 megabyte, it was not indexing. So now indexing, that's all solved with Elastic. Displaying those records is still going to take some time, and that's right now there's an active bug in community written by Jonathan Drewer. Go Jobu, woo, you're the best. To use the API to load the items, which is really going to increase the performance a lot. I mean, you'll still be waiting for some of the items to load, but we're going to load like the first 10, and you can search them and sort them and do all those fun things. Just see the items you want to. So it'll be exciting. We love you, Jonathan.
Any other questions? Great.